Right back at it again. I'll tell you, Thursdays are so much fun, Randall. I cannot think of anything else I would rather be doing than sitting here and talking sports with you for the next 90 minutes. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. As soon as we come on the air, every dog in the neighborhood decided to bark all of a sudden. So, Thursday's a little relaxation for me.
Yeah.
I get to come in. I usually take a nap, wake up, listen to your show, and then get on. Tuesdays is Randall Day. I go from 7 to.
You're a busy man.
Yeah, it's a great life, man. Amazing support we got this week. I don't know where it came from, but we have broken our all-time record of downloads and views by 1,000 plus on a random Tuesday. Just some weeks it works, man. I don't know. We'll put out a show and I'll get, it was so great, and I go and look and there's 200 views, and we put up one and I think it's a sticker, and you go look and it's got 3,000 views. So you never know from this side of it what has happened. So
and it's fun. I mean, we've talked often about this. The reason we do it isn't for the views or the clicks or the downloads. We talk about it because we think about it, and if we don't share it with people, I feel like I owe it to people to share. And when that's true and just, it comes through in spades. That's the way I look at it. So
absolutely.
So.
It's never hard to force it either. I mean,
right. Yeah. So, I know you listen to some of my show tonight. We got some football to talk about tonight. I guess we should introduce ourselves. Other Angle, Chappy and RC, Thursday nights at 10. iLogic Media is the source. Draft for Upsides affiliates, River City Media, Chappy's Fantasy Sports Group. Now that we got all that stuff away, great people, right?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. And you can find quality entertaining. And let's not forget, because
Marion Messenger.
Marion Messenger, and I know it's local to the
No.
area,
You're absolutely right. And it's just one of those that there's a lot there to unfold, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely love our friends at Marion Messenger.
I want to plug them real fast, Chappy.
Absolutely.
And if you go to my Facebook right now, my private Facebook or River City Media, you'll see something called the Psychedelic Frog. If you love punk rock music, steampunk music, alt-punk music, our buddy Duke Ralston launched an online internet alt-punk. I'm talking like great 70s punk rock radio station, and it is kicking. And tonight's their first night on the air.
Awesome.
I listened for about an hour, and I was like, man, this takes me back to my youth, listening to like the Clash and the Ramones and, crazy stuff you don't hear on regular radio.
Yeah. So, I talked a lot about baseball. I do want to talk some football with you tonight.
Absolutely.
I'll let you pick the subject, and I'll start asking the questions.
All right. Your subject. You talked about it. You talked about the MVP race.
Right.
You talked a lot about American League, but let's talk about the National League MVP race.
Yeah.
Because I think it's closer.
Right.
But I think Ronald Acuna is kind of running away with that. And Tatis being hurt kind of gave him some room to run away with it. Do you see anybody competing with those two? Acuna, 13 home runs already, hitting leadoff on a struggling Braves team. That's my question to you. Does it matter that the Braves are struggling to his MVP race?
I don't think it's so much that it matters that they're struggling. I do think he has competition. I think there's and don't get me wrong, Randall. I pointed out, I felt like rather clearly, maybe not, that I feel like Guerrero is the MVP.
Yeah, I did get that.
Yeah.
But I think in your mind, if they vote it tonight, Shohei will win.
No doubt about it, and it deserves to win. I just feel like, steady as they come with Vlad, whereas Shohei, I think, you saw last night with a 5 minute or 5 mile an hour decrease in miles per hour. That's significant, and he still did a good job, right? He's a good pitcher. He's a good player. But to answer your question, yes, I do feel like there is still stiff competition in the National League. And I think it still is looking at Juan Soto. And I think Fernando Tatis also plays a big part in that race. People, let's not forget, Juan Soto is the type of player who could hit 15 homers in 20 days.
Correct.
Numbers are going to even out. Fernando Tatis, to me, has really gained a certain amount of credibility that I felt he just didn't have a chance to show this time, at the beginning of this season. I feel like he's proved himself to me to put himself in that competition for MVP. Sure, Acuna's still the front runner. He's got to stay on the field, though.
Yes.
He's already had a couple of issues. He's like you said, the Braves are struggling a little bit. I can't think of a more important player in the National League. And Soto could be put there as well.
So while you were on your show, I looked up the odds on FanDuel. So I'm going to run some of these by you and get your gut reaction, and then you can start reacting. Right now in the National League, the MVP, you could get at plus 300, Ronald Acuna is the favorite.
Right.
Plus 850, huge jump, Fernando Tatis. And that seems like value to me as anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like to take a guess who third is?
Sure.
All right, I'll let because I was shocked.
I don't want to hint. Man, that's tough. I could go a couple different directions here. Third for me, Nolan Arenado.
Fourth.
Okay.
But tied with the guy.
Hold on.
Tied.
Can I give another guess?
Yes.
DeGrom.
You have at plus 900 DeGrom and Ariando.
How about that, buddy?
Now,
Who's sharp?
You're sharp. I'm going to give you a couple.
I haven't looked.
I'm going to give you a couple of long shots.
Okay. Yeah, I want to hear them.
I'm going to give you, and there's some people in between.
I want to shoot them down.
Juan Soto at plus 1,800.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
Bet $100 to make $1,800.
Yeah.
Here's the one I like. Nick Castellano at plus 2,000. Bet $100, win 2,000.
What is Trey Turner?
Trey Turner is plus 1,500. He's in that between those two.
I like Trey Turner. He's really showing me something this year. He's been their most valuable player, Randall.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of him, but yeah,
yeah.
So, American League, I think we all agree. The shortest odds, Ohtani at plus 150. Second is
Vlad
at plus 850.
Right.
Third. Trout fell from cold, to third.
Yeah.
And kind of off of the but third legitimate third, JD Martinez from Boston.
Yeah, that's who I'd have guessed.
Let me give you some long shots. How about this? Well, he's hurt right now, but early in the year, I'd like this. Byron Buxton plus 2,500.
Yeah.
I like that one. And maybe one that's hard to see today, but Xavier Bogaerts.
Xander Bogaerts, yeah. I like him too. I don't know about that. I think that's a little steep. I'll tell you.
How about Bo Bichette at 4,000?
No, I don't think he has it. I mean, that's Vlad if it's coming from Toronto. One guy I might think about would be. Here's one for you. What's Tim Anderson? He's probably way down there.
plus 3,300. Bet 100 to win 3,300. That's good odds there.
I like TA, man. I'll tell you, that guy right there, he's a catalyst in that offense.
Yeah. And they have a little graph that tracks like where they were at.
Right.
Ohtani's been on this all year.
Yeah.
Just
what? I tell you, now's the time to buy Ohtani, I think. I mean, because after last night and seeing that, it's just a dead arm. You know, it's the same thing you saw with Ryan Weathers, right? Where they just have a little bit of – they don't have the power through that arm because it's just tired. I think you – and I think another part of that is it's probably calculated as well.
Yeah.
I think Madden goes out there and says, give me 90%. Don't hurt yourself. Nights that you're pitching and hitting, give me 90%. I think that's what happens.
I could see that.
Yeah. So I'm not concerned about that at all. At all. So what were your thoughts, Randall, on the whole Yermin Mercedes ordeal?
I have really not digested this all.
You know the story, though, right?
A little bit. I don't know.
They're up 15-4, I think. They bring in William Zostadio, who's a catcher and an outfielder, and just kind of a gimmicky type position player to pitch. It's a 3-0 count. Mercedes hits a homer. Of course, the baseball, whatever, media go crazy saying that this is blasphemy. And LaRussa actually sides with Minnesota, saying that's not what my players do, and really kind of threw Mercedes under the bus.
So I try to choose my words correctly because there's a lot of things that baseball purists call unwritten rules that I hate.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hate some things. The bat flip is one of them. Don't.
Yeah. So can I, just to steal the conversation, 3-0 count, position player on the mound,
I swing.
Rookie player, a vagabond, and someone who wasn't supposed to make the team out of nowhere is all of a sudden having his career year, gets a meatball pitch. You swing.
I do. And I kind of go with Bauer the other night that said, don't throw it straight down the middle if you don't want him to swing. And also, when you put a position player on the mound, does that mean there's a different set of rules?
Yes.
And
yes.
And I don't. If that is Mike Trout, he don't swing. So I'm going to cut him a little break for
yes.
Who it is, his amount of time in the major leagues, and it's not that.
It could end tomorrow. It could end tomorrow.
Absolutely. And and what I was getting to about the unwritten rules, man, they're there to shorten the game. I mean, really, right. I think that's what it's there for.
Right.
But I don't have a lot of heartache with this one. I've seen bigger offenses of the unwritten rules. If it ends tomorrow, that kid had his moment.
Yeah.
I got no problem with it. I had more problem with like some stuff that happened in the playoffs with selfies at bases and stuff. So let's let it die.
So I almost fully agree. And I brought this up for a reason. I brought this up for a reason.
Yeah.
I almost agree with you. I 90% agree with you. I'm a coach's son.
Yeah, I know.
My dad coached at a Morgantown High School, local high school in West Virginia. He was a pretty good coach. But being a coach's son, my question is, and I have not heard this question being asked, did La Russa, a Hall of Fame coach, have the take sign on at 3-0?
Right.
Because that means everything, Randall.
It does.
If it's 3-0 and you have a Hall of Fame coach, if you got a mediocre coach and you swung, you're picking splinters out of your backside for the next week.
Yeah. I would make.
You're keeping score. You're chasing foul balls.
I would bet money that there was no sign.
I would bet money there is sign.
You think so?
I would bet money there was because of Tony La Russa's actions.
Then I haven't heard completely and that was my hesitation a minute ago.
That's my only explanation for it. Tony La Russa had to have a sign up. Yermin Mercedes ignored it and hit a homer. I know what my dad would have done.
Oh, I've coached a little bit and I've played a little bit.
I don't care if you're our best player. I don't care. You're sitting on the bench, and this is high school baseball. When a foul ball's hit, you're mean. Go get that foul ball.
Yeah.
For a week. And that's right. That's how it should be. So I just, again, here on the other angle, we like to talk about things a little bit differently, right?
So go ahead. I have one for you, and this happened last night. So I was asked this question: state tournament, top 5 nation ranked high school team.
Okay.
Top 5 nation, Baylor High School.
Okay.
Got one of the top 5 recruits. I mean, not recruits, but a top 10 major league player that's going to be drafted. Only lost a couple of games this year to Academy, IMG, and places like that. My buddy's behind the plate. A kid that signed with Missouri, my buddy calls a strike, and he does. He's consistent. I've watched him up. He'll give you the extra inch on the outside and high because he believes in that belly strike zone, Right. That's a strike. The inch below the knee isn't a strike, but everybody gives it to you. This guy's more of a traditional.
That's tougher to call, too.
Yeah. Calls a second strike on the kid. And he said, if it was a third strike, you don't know if he's ringing up. The kid said something, a curse word, and called about the strike. He didn't throw him out of the game, and the other umpire was upset that he didn't. And his logic was, if I threw him out tonight, he's not playing in the state tournament next week. That's when he broke one of the unwritten rules of baseball there because you don't argue balls and strikes. Do you agree with that one? Because I told him I did agree with his call.
I not knowing the whole situation, I agree with the decision. I disagree with how he got there. Playing in the state championship has nothing to do with it for me. If this was the kid's first warning,
it was.
Then I would go over between innings and speak to his coach. I would institute a warning to him and to the other coach, and I'd let it dissipate that way. But I'd say if this happens again, because no warnings were given, I feel like that you handle that in a situation with that gravity in that manner.
That's pretty much what my buddy did, and and it wasn't a scene between him and the other members of his crew, but the other members of the crew pointed out to him that's by the rule book he should have been tossed. But I agree, and that's why my buddy went to his coach and said, anything else he's tossed, I don't care about the state tournament.
Yeah,
blah, and the kid he said acted perfect the rest of the game. So I would tend to agree with you. It's funny how that stuff gets interpreted, even between high-profile umps. I mean, it's at a high school level, but you don't make it to call the private
state play at the regional or whatever. Yeah, that's a big deal.
you're behind the plate in the state regional playoffs,
right,
with a top 10 nation
right.
team in the nation.
Right.
That's, I would have felt the gravity in that situation.
And I've been there. I mean, as a player, I've been there, and there's a lot of weight behind that. So, pivot back on point. Talk about a lot of weight. little pun here. How about the big dog? How about Ross Stripling? And what is his last start for the Toronto Blue Jays last night?
I kind of read your notes, and I think feel stronger that Manoah is getting that position. Stribling is a journeyman at best, and what does Toronto want to do with their season, and how did they get there? And what does Ross Stripling bring to that staff?
The thing about Stripling is he at one point he had a fairly high pedigree. But the thing about Manoah, and the thing about, it's funny because people always wonder like how I come to my conclusions with prospects, because I'm pretty definitive in who I like and who I don't. I think you know that, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest indicators, and you as an SEC fan can kind of appreciate that, what kind of competition did you play? And when I look at Alek Manoah, being a West Virginia grad, you're talking about a Miami kid who is a big fella, right? And throws the ball hard. And his command and his control with his fastball and his slider alone make him viable. He's very Huascar Anoa like in that manner.
Right.
But he's developing this curveball. He's developing this changeup. They're kind of a work in progress. But the thing is, Manoah's fastball, slider, 1-2 are elite level. They're front of the rotation level. Right now. I think Manoah steps in and is this SP2 behind Ryu the rest of the year.
So has the call-up been official?
No.
Or is it just rumor? That's what I thought. I thought you were really stepping out. I don't think
absolutely I am. But here's the thing. I'm stepping out, but it's a calculated step out, Randall.
I'm following you.
The step out is they moved Manoah's start up a day to sync up with Stripling's start. That's the calculated decision.
Okay.
I think they were giving Stripling one more opportunity. And I also feel like Stripling's the plan B next 6th day, whatever, right?
Right.
But I think Manoah gets called up tomorrow.
How much in a auction style league with a fab of $100, how much would you place? And now I said $100 fab, so maybe that. I know some places use.
That's all right, 1,000. Yeah, whatever. I would feel comfortable. See that, and that's the other part, right? It depends on. So we have waivers that run Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? It depends on when your waivers go. But if you're a once a week thing, I'd feel comfortable putting half of my fab down.
Really, that's major.
Think Ian Anderson plus.
I would have had no problem with spending half of it on Ian Anderson last year.
He's that imposing on the mound. So what separates him from a guy like Ian Anderson is the frame. The 6, I think he's 6'7", 6'8", something like that.
Right.
You look at the big pitchers, right? You look at the Tyler Glasnows, you look at the Zach Wheelers, you look at these Lance Lynn's, these tall guys. The release point is closer to the plate when they release it almost gives a deceptive of the ball going up when it gets across the plate. Manoah is a lot like that because of his length. So a 92 or 93, all of a sudden, when it's coming out of his hands, looks like 96 or 97.
Right.
So that's why he's the addition that Toronto needs without going out and spending in the free agent market. This is a big deal. You remember Jordan Alvarez 2 years ago, right?
Right.
You remember who was all over him?
Yep.
Remember who had him?
Me.
Remember who got him?
You.
This is the same type of deal. This doesn't come along every year. And while group speak is talking about Wander Franco, the thinkers are looking at Alek Manoah.
Do you think that there's a possibility? Well, is this based on him June 1st or is
Right
that
out the gate.
Okay.
He because the 1-2 works. The 1-2 is his foundation. He has control and command of his fastball and his slider every time out. The other stuff, it's like Shohei, right? Shohei, you know you got his fastball, you know you got his splitter. The curveball, the changeup, meh. But when he's in trouble, what's he go to? That 1-2. It's the same thing with Manoah.
What's your record prediction the rest of the year?
Oh, man. That's tough. I think he can win 10 games. I think 10-3. I think his ERA is under 2. I think his Ks per 9 are over 9. That'll do it, right? That'll do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So can I talk about one more prospect? Because I didn't talk about him tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
And this is, I'm throwing you a curveball. You know I like to do that. I made a move in my big money league.
Uh-huh.
And it's in anticipation. Because we're in that Super 2 time of year, right? I talked about Wander Franco. And this is one of those leagues where you can keep one minor league player. So Wander Franco's taken. Mackenzie's Gore's taken. I made a power move, Randall. I picked up Vidal Brujan. And I'm going to have to play him next week, even if he doesn't get called up. But then after that, I can put him in a minor spot until he does get called up. Randall, I think he gets called up next week. Before Wander.
Are you I don't know if I can get this to
Crazy?
focus.
Am I crazy?
No,
Yes.
this is one of the secret websites I have. An article dated today that just says stash for, and it's your boy, Vidal.
Yeah.
It says
Yeah.
pick him up today and stash him for next week.
Yeah. And you know, it's one of those things where
if you, I mean, is he lost in the Wander Franco hype a little bit? If he was on another team, would he have more hype?
I like Vidal Brujan for the same reason that I liked Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette was able to have Vlad Guerrero Jr. benefit him in a couple of different ways.
Right.
One, he was able to absorb work ethic, the approach, the thought process that Vlad has.
Right.
But 2, he was always kind of like that little brother, the guy that didn't get the attention, that kind of drove him to be what he is. I think you're seeing the exact same thing with Wander Franco and Vidal Brujan. Brujan reminds me of Bo Bichette, except for he's a hell of a lot faster. And he can start today in any of your 3 outfield positions. He can play 5 positions on the field easily. Remind me again. Who's playing in the outfield for Tampa Bay?
You got me on that one.
So you got Arizarena.
Yeah, one player.
You got Meadows, who they've been DHing a lot. But then you're looking at guys like Kevin Kiermaier. You're looking at guys like not nearly. It's not a roadblock for Brujan.
No, I mean everybody knows the one real power. Well, everybody knows Meadows.
Right.
Everybody knows the one
Arizarena.
But I mean, Tampa's a rough team. I mean, I struggle with even knowing when I play DFS if a fellow friend of our Lou's Landers posts his daily hot picks and he has Tampa on there. I have to go look at their lineup. It's just not a lineup that jumps out to me.
I'll tell you one thing, and this is a DFS gold. If Mike Broussard's playing and he's hitting the middle of that lineup, play him. Play him. I don't need to look at splits. If he's hitting 3rd, 4th, or 5th, you play his behind. But that's the thing. So, like, we're talking about a guy with Brujan. You like Chaz Chisholm?
Yeah.
This kid's more talented than Jazz Chisholm. That's the type of player we're talking about. If there's a challenge in my mind of Rookie of the Year for Alek Manoah, it's this guy.
Well, so on the other front,
Yeah, I knew you were going to do this to me.
I made a move in one of my leagues today.
Okay.
I picked up Drew Waters.
Love it.
Who has been on fire for the Atlanta Braves. And I think they desperately need his bat in the outfield after the failed Page debacle. So I'm with you. I think next week we see a flood of rookies coming up.
Yeah. And I like Drew Waters a lot. As much as I didn't like Pache coming up, I feel exactly the opposite of Drew Waters. I feel like he provides a little bit more pop. He might not be as fast as Pache is, but I feel like he's a better base runner than Pache is.
He gets a much better jump.
Yes.
That's what I've been able to see.
So I'm excited for that opportunity for him. Another guy in the National League that I'm really keeping my eye on. There's a bunch of them, but one guy in particular is JJ Bleday.
Yeah,
you're looking same thing as Brujan. You're looking at a situation in Miami. Can you tell me who their outfielders are?
The Braves cast off
Duvall.
Well, yeah, and I'm still sick. He's hitting 416 this last 15 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's about all I got.
Yeah. So Corey Dickerson,
yeah.
And the center fielder is it Margot or is that Tampa? Those Florida teams confuse me.
I think it's Margot in Miami.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not terribly intimidating. I don't think it is. I think Margot's in Tampa, but I could be wrong. Again, those two confuse me. Fact of the matter is, Bleday is the middle of the lineup type of guy. If you're looking at a situation where a guy like Corey Dickerson's holding him up, he just move Corey Dickerson. Bleday is a true right fielder. he has that profile, but he's a middle of the lineup type of bat. And I don't see him, maybe not next week, maybe the week after, but I feel like he gets an early call.
So do you think, because I read an article today, and, I'm one of the old school guys. We've talked about it. I still read newspapers,
Mm-hmm.
and I still love newspaper type articles that basically said if this was any other year, that these kids would have got, 120 at bats by now in a regular minor league season.
Right.
That they would be a flood of them on June 1st. But there may be some hesitation that, you lead a player or an extra, maybe you see July 4th call-ups. Do you think this is going to, because it's the service time thing that starts too.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to slow down maybe some call-ups, or do you think we see the same number in June 1st of call-ups in a normal year?
I think it's case by case.
Yeah.
It really depends on the player. It depends on what their trajectory is, whether or not, were they at the alternate site last year? Were they already advanced and where they were? That's the other part of it. There was no minor league ball last year.
Yeah, I mean, some of these 50
haven't played in a year and a half. All of them haven't played in a year and a half.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So when you're looking at a guy like, just drawing names out, O'Neal Cruz, who has played some minor league ball, but really is missing that upper minor league experience, I think it affects him. Whereas you look at a guy like Nick Lodolo, a pitcher from the Reds, mm-hmm. who has that high college experience, who has that little bit of taste of minor league ball, albeit not much. I don't think it affects him as much as it would a guy like Cruz. So right. I think it just depends on where they are in their developmental stage. Obviously, it depends a lot on their particular work ethic and who they surround themselves with. So that's a question that I don't feel like you can really give a true answer to.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Well, but I was just going to say, but that said, a guy like Otley Rutschman, a guy like Shea Langoliers, I'm not worried too much about those guys.
I have a friend who has Mike Trout, Sterling Marte, and a couple of other outfilders on the DL.
Byron Buxton.
Yeah, that's sitting on Bobby Witt. Do we think we see Bobby Witt on June 1?
No.
I don't think so either. But
yeah, I think that if you look at what the Royals are doing, they are gearing up for late 2022. Early 2023. But that said, there's some guys that they've brought up that are intriguing, that do have a little bit of potential to them. I'm looking at a guy like Daniel Lynch, where if things break right, he could have a good year.
Right. I'm just looking at some names. That's one of the ones at the top of the list.
Yeah. But when you look at what their lineup is, you're looking at a guy like Jorge Soler, Whit Merrifield, that they've got established veterans in place that they're just trying to field a team that they could build upon and kind of figure out, a lot like the Cubs are, right? Figure out who makes sense and who doesn't. I said it at 8 o'clock. Chris Bryant, you have to keep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't that way until he did what he did. He's earned his keep this first 40 games in this season.
And let's give a shout out to
Ray.
To Ray.
I knew you were going there.
Called. He's like, Chris Bryant is back. He's going to hit 30 and hit 280. And my boy Ray called that. And, And he has. I mean, you'll probably see Ray Tuesday on the the other show. So I'm hoping to get him on. He just finished up his little league season, which how great's that? So we'll probably see Ray. Guy's going to get his follow up on Chris Bryant.
Awesome. So I know we had other baseball stuff to talk to, but we're about halfway through the show, and I know you want to talk about football. I know I want to talk about football. selfishly. Anything you want to wrap up? How about Albert Pujols?
Oh, look, I do have some strong feelings about Pujols. I think it is genius what the LA Dodgers did with Pujols. So I went, and my first instinct was when we kind of talked about this, I pulled Max Muncy and Albert Pujols' righty-lefties breakdown for this year. Max Munoz is hitting 205 against lefties right now.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols is hitting 300 against lefties and $160 against righties. Right. Also, in 36 at bats, he has 2 home runs. He's at 9 extra base hits. Plus, I think with the injuries they have suffered, Pujols' calming veteran effect on that clubhouse is invaluable. I think the Angels would have been happy with Pujols to go into a platoon role, but Pujols is much more satisfied to go into a platoon role with a World Series contender, and this gives him a legit
defending
shot.
World Series champion.
Yeah, it gives him a legit shot to win a World Series out the door. And the Dodgers, everybody forgets they lost Reyes, so that's depth at first. Corey Bellinger really isn't available to play first.
Well, he's going to play outfield when he comes back.
Yeah, but I mean, they have substituted there a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
OPS 800.
Yeah.
Versus lefty. They got a top 25 left-handed bat into their lineup who is frankly past his prime. He's slow, still plays decent defense, and you don't need to see. Yeah, you don't need to see right-handed pitching only in certain situations.
Yeah. I think it's great. And you're spot on. It's one of those things where the best part about it is the Angels are paying him $23 million. The Dodgers are paying him $450,000.
Right. And
he's a anchor in the center of that lineup when he plays. He hits 4 and plays first for the next 3 years for the Dodgers. Bellinger can play outfield just fine. Pujols is the Dodgers' first baseman for the next 3 years.
I'd like
what do
to
you think about them apples?
I would like to see that.
So. And, it's a situation where you're absolutely right. You can sub in and out him and Muncy or him and Bellinger or whoever the heck Rios or whoever you want. It doesn't matter. But I feel like he's a guy on a mission.
Well, the art of the platoon is missing in the major leagues right now in a lot of places. Guys don't want a platoon. You remember the great platoon players of our era, like Bobby Mercer. When you played the Yankees, you knew you were going to get Bobby Mercer if you threw a left-hander out there. If you threw a right-hander, you're probably going to get Oscar Gamble. The Braves made a living in their 90s with having a platoon outfield.
Mm-hmm.
That art, and I don't criticize the players of today like some people do, but they don't want a platoon. They don't. Yeah. They want to play 160 games.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, if you can hit left-handed pitching and you can get 300 at bats, and there's a living out there for you. You just might not play every day,
Well, listen, Albert Pujols doesn't need a paycheck.
No, absolutely not.
He's doing it for the love of the game and just to kind of prove his naysayers.
So you want to know how good his career is?
Yeah.
600 home runs, 300 hits, more than one World Series championship. The list has one guy on it, Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. Hank Aaron won one. Bonds never won one,
Listen, he's the best player of my lifetime.
I think so. I'm a little older than you, so
yep.
I guess I date back.
But you didn't see Hank Aaron in his prime.
I didn't, but I did see the telling end of some of those late. I caught the whole career of like Pete Rose and Johnny Bench, and to me, and Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt's one that's hard for me to not put in that. Of the guys since I've been an adult that's come into a major league, like I was an adult with a job buying rookie Albert Pujols cards.
Right.
And that was the first guy I collected after my adult life started, you know. He is the best call up. I guess he came up in about 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. And he's the best call up. How about this? He's the best baseball player of this century so far.
No doubt. Yeah.
I'm still hung up on Willie Mays, Ben, and I got to see Willie Mays for like 1 year, so I'm still hung up on it.
Listen, can I just tell you something? The other angle. Thursday nights at 10. iLogic Media. Ain't this great?
Yeah, I love it. I love talking it.
So we're at the halfway mark. We've talked baseball to this point. I want to lead off strong in football. And you're just the man for the job.
I am the man for this job.
I'm going to give you 8 quarterbacks.
All right.
I want you to rank them.
Okay.
And those quarterbacks are all of the relevant first and second year quarterbacks.
All right.
So we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. We're talking about Trey Lance. We're talking about Josh Fields. We're talking about Mac Jones.
Okay.
We're talking about Joe Burrow. We're talking about Tua. We're talking about Herbert, and we're talking about, I know I'm missing one. Who's the last one I'm missing?
Jalen Hurts. Herbert.
Jalen Hurts. I didn't say Jalen Hurts. Okay. I want you to rank those guys for me.
Okay. I'm going to – and we're talking from a fantasy perspective, I guess.
Absolutely.
Too.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to give you and a little bit of a shocker. I'm going to give you Herbert 1. I'm going to give you Burrows 2 because I don't know how the knee is. I think Burrows may be October coming back. And
so the clean bill of health, ready to go for week 1. You think that's hubbub of a loop?
Yeah,
you want to see it first.
Yeah, I want to.
He comes out in week 1 or week 2 of the preseason and lights it up. He
jumps ahead of Herbert at that point.
Okay.
And I'm fully comfortable with that. And let me just make sure I got all my guys here. I don't have a list, but I'm going to do it off the top of my head.
Oh, I can repeat it too.
I got it. 3. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts.
Love it.
4. I'm going to go.
Why? Wait, why? Why him over Tua? Why him over Lawrence?
The legs. I still think we're on track to rush close to 500 yards. That's an extra 50 points in his profile. So those extra 50 points compares to an extra 1,200 yards in the air. Lawrence, I don't know what that offense is going to look like. Also, I'll remind you, Peyton Manning threw 29 interceptions his rookie year. It's a tough job.
Yeah.
A tough job.
So we've got 3. After those 3, so you got Burrow, you got Herbert, you got Hurts. Or vice versa on 1, 2. Sorry, depending. Number 4 is
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, number 4.
Yes.
Even given the not certain of the offense, not sure.
Because I do. I mean, I'm breaking down Jalen.
Pure talent, right?
Yeah, I'm breaking down Jalen Hurts, which I know. I think I know the upside there. I don't know that Tua Tagovailoa. I'm much higher than most people are on Tua's career.
Right.
I'm still of the point that we have not seen a healthy Tua in the NFL. I happen to be watching that game.
I agree.
That was a devastating injury he felt last year. I am of the belief that Tua should not have seen the field last year. So I think Tua should be listed as we should have never seen Tua last year. But I'll go ahead and I'll put Tua there because I think he plays.
At 5 years saying.
Yeah.
Behind Lawrence.
So
let me ask you this. the hesitancy last year that you saw him throwing off of his back leg a lot, not planning into that throw on a half roll.
Yep.
You think that's directly related
Absolutely
to his hip injury?
Absolutely. I don't.
So you're saying this year you expect him to come out and have that issue resolved?
I expect him to be better. So let me give you the reason
Fair.
I think last year it wasn't a fear factor that kept him from doing that. I think it was a mobility health issue.
Preventative.
I think this year he learns his body again.
Right.
I think this is a kid that really is going to learn his body again. Now, I said this on another show. I put a lot of faith in Nick Saban. I hate Nick Saban, but I put a lot of faith in him. He's looked at these three quarterbacks every day of the week and said, this is the best quarterback, and I'm going to start him. So I watched Tua in person.
His athleticism's impressive.
It is. And I think Tua is Drew Brees. And I think last year they tried to put a square break. You know, he's a 6-foot precision passer that doesn't have the huge arm that needs to learn.
So he's an underneath type of guy.
Yeah, he needs to play in the right offense. As opposed to
Is he in the right offense, Randall?
I don't know. I want to see him this year, and I'll tell you. I will not have Tua stock probably. And the only reason I say I won't have Tua stock is it's not that I don't think Tua could have a decent year, but where folks are drafting Tua, I'll never reach to that and draft him there.
Right.
I just won't have Tua stock.
Let me ask you this, and I want to pivot back to this, but I want to pivot away from it for a second. Rank these three quarterbacks.
Okay.
Hurts, Tua, Kyler Murray.
Murray, Hurts, Tua.
Ooh, that hurts.
If I was drafting in a dynasty league, I might switch Hurts and Tua.
Interesting.
In a redraft league, I would definitely have Tua behind Hurts at this point. The only thing that makes me a little nervous about Hurts.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Hurts, Murray, Tua.
I understand your philosophy. I think Kyler Murray, I think this is his breakout year. And watching him last year.
He's so talented.
He is. And I don't think they ever got it right. And I'm not sure he had let's not D-Hop is a great wide receiver. Larry Fitzgerald, Kenyon Drake. I don't know if he had all the right pieces. And they've kind of remade that. They've remade that offense more for a Kyler Murray friendly offense. I will have Kyler Murray stock, and I think he's the third quarterback off the board. So that's where I'm really comfortable drafting a quarterback, to be honest. I don't know if I'm going to reach up for the Patrick Mahomes, which you got to reach into the second, third round, you know?
Two things. You're probably going to get him. You're probably going to get him, just giving you a hint. But the other thing is, you know, I want your thoughts on this. I'm going to say this as easily as I can.
Okay.
I see a lot of comparison between Murray and Robert Griffin III.
I agree with that.
And let me just finish this. I feel like if Robert Griffin III would have learned how to properly slide, you're looking at a top 5 quarterback still.
For a lot of years.
Still.
Yeah. The strange things about Griffin's career, and you know about this, I was in an accident. I was in a coma most of Griffin's career. I missed the guy's whole peak while I was in the hospital.
So good.
But I remember I was up and I came out, and someday I'm going to tell that story on Off the Record, the whole story of the coma and stuff. But I remember at the end of the year, I had woken up and I was watching some football, and I watched that last game of the year.
Oh,
and it was
so memorable.
Brutal. it just you just felt like you were watching this kid's life end on the field, and it's a shame, man. It's a real shame. He had a better arm than Lamar Jackson. I don't care what anybody
He's a better
says.
football player than Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's close. Anyway, let's pivot back just to keep it. So we're at 5, right?
Yep.
You got Herbert, Burrow, or Burrow, Herbert. You got Hurts.
Yep.
You got Lawrence. You got Tua.
Yes.
You got 3 quarterbacks left in the first and second year draft.
I would put Wilson next in a redraft league, but if it was dynasty, I would have already said the name Justin Fields. So I think Wilson has to play for New York next year. Then I would finish it up.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you.
Okay.
You said if it was dynasty, you'd have already mentioned the name Justin Fields.
Yes.
So it's dynasty. Where does Justin Fields go?
Ahead of
Tua. Ahead of Tua.
Yes. Ahead of Tua, 1 spot.
So you have Justin Fields as your 6th quarterback.
Yes,
in a dynasty.
Second best in this class. I think that in dynasty, I would rate him ahead of Wilson and Lance.
Okay, I'm totally. We're really close on this.
I just don't think he's going to get the snaps this year to be.
And I disagree with you. I think he does get the snaps.
If he does, then it's a push right there at 5.
Yeah, it's close. It's close. The reason why I say that he gets the snaps, Nagy's job depends on
it. This hire is so important to his career. I agree.
He is the perfect quarterback for Montgomery.
Yeah.
He's the perfect quarterback because they can run that little Iowa State crap where you can, run the half rolls, you can hit the tight ends. This is a really I'll tell you, the Bears have been a tragedy for most of the last half century. They really did a good job on this draft.
They did. The only reason I think we see Fields, I think they have to. If it goes
terrible.
If it goes terrible at any point, we see Fields.
Dalton's awful.
He is. I invested in him last year when Dak got hurt, and I will never do it again. He's
game manager at best. At best, he's game manager.
And that passed him by because Dallas offense is a Cadillac, and he made it into a
jalopy
76 Maverick.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I totally. So let's finish this.
I like
Dynasty. Last 2.
I like Jones over Lance.
Okay.
It's hard for me.
Same for redraft?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they can play. I don't know how they
say it. Lance doesn't play this year.
I don't see how they do.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think Mac Jones plays
much.
I like both of those guys, interestingly enough, have great coaches. I'm a real believer in Kyle Shanahan.
I agree.
And those are the guys.
You like McDaniels?
I do. I don't think he. I think he learned a lot by failing in the NFL.
Right. Yep.
Miami is a rocket ship if they get, and they've had 2 great drafts. They're loaded for next year's draft.
Right.
They've played this very smart.
Right.
And I think their only question with Tua was they made sure they had the right guy, I think. And I think now they're comfortable they have the right guy. The Tua family is a little different. I don't know if you know the whole story, but
I don't.
They're Samoan, and the
Right.
dad still run. And their culture, this is nothing offensive to their culture, but it is a different culture where your elders are still in charge of your life until they pass. So when Tua signed with Miami, his whole family moved to or to a side with Alabama. His whole family moved to Alabama.
Right.
When he went to Miami, his parents went there.
Right.
There is some comfort level in that life for him being surrounded by the same family. In Samoan, it's a very family tradition. And I do think it took him a while to get used to being in Miami.
I think that's fair, and I think the other fair part of that is, to live the lifestyle of a prima donna quarterback, whether you want it or not, you're getting it, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I know the answer. I know the answer to one of them. Mac Jones sits a year, Trey Lance sits a year. Give me comps coming into year 2. What do you expect out of them?
I expect when Mac Jones he plays at a high level, just because the only comp we have is Tom Brady. Tom Brady went and sat for a year and a half. And I'm not saying Mac Jones has Tom Brady talent, but Tom Brady in the second year coming off the bench was one of the most prepared quarterbacks I've ever seen. Mac Jones is a insatiable worker, according to his offensive coordinator, who's Steve Sarkisian, said he got more in 17 games with Mac Jones than he did with any quarterback in the history of his career,
right.
Which he was in L.A. with the Barkleys and the Sanchez's and those guys. So you have a sensational, hardworking coach with a driven, hardworking player. I expect once Mac Jones gets it, and I don't know if that'll come in year 1, year 2, year 3, but once Mac Jones gets it in New England, he will play at a very high level.
Okay, before we move on to Trey Lance, I'm going to give you 2 players.
Okay.
Tell me how far off I am on the comps.
Okay, I do have a comp. You give me yours first.
Yep. Player 1, Kurt Warner.
So let me tell you who I think is very close to Kurt Warner, but not as good. And he took a lot of grief in his career. Tony Romo. And I think that's kind of top end is Kurt Warner, bottom end Tony Romo. That's the guy I had in my head. That's kind of my range. I also came up with a motivated Jay Cutler, but that's very clearly when he was motivated.
Yeah. So first off, have you seen the Lego bits that they do on Mac Jones?
No, I haven't. I've heard they're hilarious.
They are. They talk about him looking like the Lego guy from the Lego movie.
He does, though.
The other guy he kind of reminds me of, and I just come from a perspective of quick release, out of the pocket, get the ball out of his hands fast, is Drew Brees.
Yeah. Well, and my guy gets underrated, but I think maybe the biggest comp for Mac Jones is Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, I really see them being the same kind of quarterback. Both of them are okay athletes. Neither one of them have great arms, but they seem like guys that's really worked themselves into that position.
Right. How about Trey Lance?
God, that is such a realm of outcomes. The high end, I see him being a elite top 10 type quarterback. I don't see Trey Lance. I don't have the same grade on Trey Lance that the 49ers do.
Right.
He was my 4th quarterback. So on the high end, let's go with somebody that Shanahan worked with that he had great success with. Kirk Cousins in Washington, not Kirk Cousins in Minnesota.
Right.
Robert Griffin in Washington, who had Kyle Shanahan as a coordinator at one point. Can he do that? That would be the best end of it. The worst end of it would be he's from North Dakota State, and the moment's too big for him, and that's a fear I have. So,
what are your thoughts on a comp of Donovan McNabb?
The best end, yes, very much.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
I saw Donovan McNabb play at Syracuse. Boy, what a player!
Ironically, I did too.
Yeah. I saw him a couple times. Him and Marvin Harrison.
Tennessee and Rob Conrad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tennessee cheated them out of a game to win the national championship. Game 1, we should have got beat. Hey, and folks, the Carrier don't have air conditioning if you ever go, just for the record.
Okay.
Can I give you one other comp before we get off of it?
Absolutely, please.
And it's I gave him this comp his sophomore year in high school. As I said on the other show, I was Trevor Lawrence's first Rivals recruiter. I gave him his first start.
Yeah.
The comp that I wrote for Trevor Lawrence that night, and I talked to his dad and his brother after that, was Drew Bledsoe. And I still think that's his comp. He's a little more athletic Drew Bledsoe, but he's got that kind of arm.
Yeah.
And for the folks that forget, if you look up the top 10 passing yards in NFL history, Mr. Bledsoe is number 9 or 10 right now.
Yeah.
So
Washington State, right?
Great quarterback could have probably won the Super Bowl without Brady that year and with New England.
No, you're right. I agree. That's interesting. Who's Hurts remind you of?
Hurts? I want Hurts to be Steve McNair so bad.
Whew.
Because I'm a Steve McNair fan.
Yeah, I bet
I'm
you are.
also a Jalen Hurts fan.
Yeah.
And I saw McNair play in college at Alcorn State. I also saw him play in the only Super Bowl I've ever been to was the Rams and the Titans. And I fell in love with Steve McNair, even though I'm not a Titans fan. But I think that's the very upside of it. On the downside of it, I think he is athletic enough to be a good quarterback, but I really believe that he now possesses an NFL-ready arm.
Yeah.
I hope. I really.
Oh, I think here's my comp. A right-handed Steve Young.
That's high praise there.
Yeah.
And again, this is a kid that lost his starting job to Tua.
And took it like a man.
And walked away and said, I'm going to get better.
And kicked butt in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and said, and took the criticism on the way out the door that your arm and your throwing motion is bad and went and learned how to throw NFL style. How many people laughed at this kid when the Eagles took him in the second round? I mean, it was a joke.
Let me ask you this question. What's Kelly Bryant doing?
It's good. That's a very, very good question. He was at Missouri last seen.
Yeah. And that's my point. Like, Hurts could have gone away.
Yeah. Well, and Kelly Bryant wasn't just at Missouri.
He was good. They kicked our butt one year with him.
Yeah. Well, Kelly Bryant inherited Drew Lock's team from Missouri.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had tools too.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get to the next level.
Right.
Jalen Hurts, when he left Alabama, was probably a 6th round draft choice.
Right. He handled that with such class. And his work ethic, to me, again, being a Big 12 guy, seeing what he did week in and week out with that team. Yes, it was a good team. I'm not saying that it wasn't a good team. But fact of the matter is, he put the work in.
Yeah.
He led by example. He got better. He did the things he needed to do to be an NFL starter. And I think I love the quote. I don't know if you saw this. I saw this on Bleacher Report today. Talking about a quarterback competition. And you know what his response to that was, Randall?
No, I can imagine, but I don't know. I haven't seen it.
He said, rent's due at the first of the month. I don't plan on missing any payments.
That's Jalen Hurts.
I love that. That's the player I want to cheer for.
I have very few collectibles in my house other than Tennessee and stuff I do in for an investment. One of the things I have on my wall in my room is a picture of Tua, Hurts, and Mac Jones post-national championship. And I mean, Alabama, you know how Tennessee fans feel about Alabama.
Right.
I have so much respect for all three of those young men. I become fans of kids, and these are kids to me.
I totally agree.
And I don't care if Mac Jones went to Alabama. I don't care if Tua went to Alabama.
Right.
I cheered very hard against them. Those three kids are just
good kids.
Good kids. Kids. Yeah. You want your kids to grow up to get those kind of lessons. And from all indication, and knowing Trevor Lawrence's family, same kind of kid.
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing. Good kids grow up at the ball field. Your dad as a coach knows that.
So we got 20 minutes left.
All right.
I gotta ask this question. What happens with DeShaun Watson?
It's been a question I've tried to avoid, but I finally talked about it on one of the programs. I think his career is over.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, Chappy, I do not know if DeShaun, and I'll say this, I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. And I don't offer up whether he is or not. He will have his day in court just like everyone else will get. But
where there's smoke, there's fire.
At 23, 24 accusations.
It's a lot.
You see a serial pattern occurring.
Right.
This is another kid from Atlanta that you thought was a great kid and by all means lived a great life. But there's a pattern, and that's what I said on the other show. There's a disturbing pattern to DeShaun Watson right now.
So my question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
I'm shocked by it, really.
Well, so you know me. You know I like to go past what everybody else is talking about. I try to do. That's like my goal. It doesn't make a difference to you that this is at a rub and tug type place.
It doesn't.
It's repetitive.
Yeah, it becomes an issue to me that somewhere in those, and I do think it's probably a place I wouldn't be going, and we all know what people go there for.
Right.
But somewhere in the pattern of 23, 24 complaints is the one legit, no, don't do this, that he went too far. It's a common theme. Yeah.
It's a common theme.
And there was some, and I hate to bring this up, but, Bob Kraft got caught up in one accusation similar to this. And I don't put any difference in a team owner and a player.
Right.
But it was at one kind of unique situation. And you can go, okay, maybe you got a false accuser. Maybe, and, it's patterns that bother me. And just like.
So you're saying you're more willing to look past Robert Kraft and his one issue than you are, and it makes sense. DeShaun Watson's 20, whatever it is.
I just think it's easier for one person to make accusations than it is for 20 people.
Right.
If 20 people tell me the same story, I generally tend to believe it.
Right.
And again, we are not judge or juries. He will get his day in court.
Right.
And if he's innocent, if he is innocent, shame on the people right now that's accusing him. I'll put it that way.
I just can't see it.
I just can't either.
So you don't think he takes one more snap in the NFL?
I do not, unless he finds, some major saving grace.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, I don't see it.
But I think it's right. I think you're saying the right things.
If Michael Vick lost 3 years of his career
over dogfighting,
his charge,
right?
And dogfighting's hideous.
Absolutely,
and it's ridiculous. But a value of we do not protect. I'm going to say it. This is not Chappie's opinion. This is Randall's opinion of a daughter, 11-year-old daughter. If you do not protect the female and respect the female of her species, then you don't deserve to play in the NFL or any other place in society.
It's a privilege.
It is a privilege, yes.
So man. So do you see this happening? You see him getting cut?
I'm afraid. So right now it's a very sticky situation. It's a civil situation.
Right.
I do not see that this can remain a civil situation if
23 people come out.
At some point this has to become a legal issue.
Right.
And these kind of issues carry pretty stiff penalties, as we can see from another well-loved, well-respected figure in Bill Cosby that now is serving time in a federal prison, and rightly so.
Right.
In his late 80s or late 70s, early 80s, I mean, you've got this is just, it's morality. We got to live by it.
Right. So what happens in Houston?
I think Davis takes the first, or I think Tyrod Taylor takes the snaps.
So rank these guys. Jeff Driscoll, the rookie Davis, and Tyrod Taylor.
It's a hard pick because I'm actually fairly pro Jeff Driscoll. I think he got a little bit of the shaft in some of his stops. I say Taylor takes the first snaps. Driscoll is his backup, and I think Davis was a wasted pick, not because Davis is talent, but Houston will be drafting first next year,
and they'll take a quarterback.
They can take Howard from North Carolina, and now you've got wasted your only asset.
So
a third-round quarterback.
And that screws up the whole. Is it the South, AFC South? I mean, because that was a contending team.
Houston is the largest train wreck in sports right now.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because that was once 3 years ago was a contending franchise, and you had, and now you don't even wonder why J.J. Watt wanted out, or Jadeveon Clowney wanted out, or DeAndre Hopkins got traded for a second-round pick. People said
they wasted.
Yeah. And then they made him the bad guy because they traded him for a second-round pick. He must be a cancer.
Right.
Maybe they just didn't know how to run an NFL team.
Well, and I think that's the problem, right? So it's a lot like the Bengals were for years and years and years.
Good example.
If you don't fix the leadership, they're just going to continue to make bad decisions.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen the new show, The Dark Side of the Field, the first episode is Chad Okotocinco, and you can really see the dysfunction of the Bengals in his era.
Now that's changed. That's changed.
It is.
It's not that way now, but for decades it was. I mean, from the Boomer Esiason Bengals in the 83?
Yeah.
All the way up through, I mean, just as recent as last year, really, if you want to be honest. I mean, the Joe Burrow era turns the page, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, even the drafting of Joe Mixon was somewhat controversial.
Right.
Someone who had on film knocked a girl out previously.
Yeah. Okay. 10 minutes, I want to get to this. Give me some fantasy cores that you're intrigued by going into the 2021 fantasy football season.
So I'm going to give you I'm going to start in my division. I am very intrigued by adding one. I think I'm intrigued by Tampa being together 2 years.
Right.
I think that offense takes folks, I am not the Tom Brady fan, but that offense didn't know what they were doing last year and won the Super Bowl. So I think that offense takes leaps and leaps and leaps ahead. I think Kyle Pitts in Atlanta adds intrigue, but Atlanta's not settled yet because I still think Julio can move.
Right. Hold on. Let me, just 1 second. Is the head coach of Tampa? It's escaping my mind.
Bruce Arians.
Thank you very much. Is he the most underrated football coach in the NFL?
In history, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a guy that could have won a lot of places and just now getting his opportunity. And was very good at times in Arizona. Yes, I think.
And in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
he's and Indy. I mean,
he's a different kind of guy too.
Totally is.
And he rubs people wrong. He's kind of NFL's version of Mike Leach a little bit. So yeah, he's a great coach.
He's arrogant.
He is. Very arrogant.
He's confident. So, does it scare you that Tom Brady says that last year he was just learning the playbook?
It does, very much so. I think they win the Super Bowl again. I could see. I mean, we did an over and under thing on 3 R's, and I didn't give it, but one of the teams I had wrote down was Tampa at 12 wins. Could they go 13 wins? Seems possible for that team.
Rank these 3 players. Fantasy.
Okay.
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown.
I thought last year was Chris Godwin's year to turn the corner, and he stayed hurt all year.
Right.
I still think Chris Godwin is the most upside of those 3 receivers. Mike Evans second. Antonio Brown is a great receiver, but he's there to be. Unfortunately or not unfortunately, he plays the DeShaun Jackson role in that offense, even though he's much more of a wide receiver 1 than DeShaun Jackson ever was.
Is Antonio Brown the best wide receiver 3 in the game?
Yes. Yes.
Who were you debating with?
The Cowboys, because there's an
CD
argument
Lamb.
that CD Lamb is CD Lamb is probably a year for me saying CD Lamb is the better wide receiver of the 2. This is his 2nd year. Wide receivers seem to come to age in 3rd year.
So you know who I'm going to ask about.
He would be, go ahead.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's the other one that would be right there on my list. And also, again, it's how do you break down the Rams, too? Is Cooper Kupp your 3rd receiver, or is he not?
Right.
And in Atlanta, is Calvin Ridley your 3rd receiver, or is he not?
No, he's not.
The way they play him in the slot, he almost, what he plays. You're right, he's not. Truly, this year, Julio Jones may be your 3rd receiver in Atlanta. That's the scary thing about it. If he's there, Minnesota.
Everything I read, he's not.
I don't think he will be either. Kansas City, if you want to include Kels as a wide receiver,
I don't.
Possibly.
I don't.
But the 3 that jumped out of my head immediately was Tampa, Dallas, and the Steelers.
So we got 5 minutes left. I had a really good question I wanted to ask you. I can't remember. What do you got?
One more core that I want to go with.
Yeah.
One more core is the Rams.
Yeah.
Robert Woods, the rookie Cooper Kupp with Matthew Stafford. I love that team. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and they signed somebody. I can't remember, but look them up. The Cardinals signed somebody.
I don't remember. It's okay. It's funny because doing these shows, there's a lot a lot going on in our heads, right? I asked you this a couple weeks back.
Okay.
I want to ask you as my parting question.
Okay.
Keeper league format, keep 4 keepers.
Okay.
You can keep Joe Burrow as an 8th round pick, or you can keep Jalen Hurts as an 18th round pick.
Yeah.
Who are you keeping and why?
You're asking me now after I have completed my rankings. So yeah. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you want to win this year? Is it a win now situation for you?
It's a win now, win later.
I'm telling you, your best chance to win the league this year is to keep Jalen Hurts.
This year, you're saying?
Yeah, and maybe for a couple of years. I do think Joe Burrow will become elite. I think Jalen Hurts tops out at that 6-7 ranks. I could see the day Joe Burrow is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. But the difference in between 1 and 6 when it comes to fantasy football and the difference in an 8 and 18, I would go with Hurts.
Yeah. Because of the draft.
Yeah,
position.
yeah, that would be the biggest reason. And
You told me Burrow last time.
I know I've completed my rankings, and I actually have Hurts in front of Burrow with my
Yeah.
rankings.
So I mean, I'm going to ask you this 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah, I have. If you want to know, I have Hurts at 9.
Well, and it's interesting, right? So I threw this out earlier. Who has a better career, Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts?
Only because at this point, I think Kyler Murray is on the verge of a breakout. I'm going to go Kyler Murray.
But you see where I'm coming from.
Yeah, yeah. And the other quarterback, I would kind of heave back at you for Jalen Hurts. I would go, would you want to have Jalen Hurts going for it? Or would you want to have Lamar Jackson?
Oh. Man, Jalen Hurts, no question to me.
All right.
Yeah, no question to me.
I got that decision to make in one of my leagues.
I'm not a big Lamar Jackson fan.
It's just the yardage, man. I mean, he rushes for almost 1,000 yards.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's viable, and I think you're absolutely right for questioning that. But fact of the matter is I'm still not sold on Jackson as a passer.
And that's going to be my decision probably. I like Philadelphia's weapons they've put around Jalen Hurts this year.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Devonta Smith's a stud.
Yeah. So if we added a 9th quarterback to this discussion,
absolutely,
where would you rank Jordan Love's future?
At the bottom.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I don't see it. I just don't see it.
I don't either. But I've got someone that I trust that says Jordan Love is the next superstar.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, I just don't see it. And he's like, you didn't see him play at Utah State. And I was like, I didn't. I never watched him play except his bowl game, and he was horrible.
Okay.
He really believes Jordan. He would put Jordan Love probably. He's higher on Lance too than I am, but he would have Jordan Love probably ahead of Zach Wilson.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you do know who I'm talking about.
We did the Final Four show together.
Yeah.
Yep, I know who you're talking about. No, and I mean, fair. There might be some West Coast bias there, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But I always tell people this. I remember seeing Randy Moss at Mountaineer Stadium. You could tell.
Instantly.
Right? I remember seeing Pat Mahomes at Mountaineer Stadium. You could tell.
Instantly.
I get it.
Yeah.
The whole Utah State, South Dakota State thing, that doesn't bother me. I haven't seen the steps.
Correct.
To show me that it connects.
Yep.
I need to see for players from those type of schools. I need to see that step. Process.
And if the Packers really are banking on him the future, they have pretty high hopes, I guess. One other quarterback, and I know we're out of time. I want to ask you because you said it.
Yeah.
When you see somebody in person, you know it.
Right.
You know it 100%. Is there any saving either one of the Pittsburgh Steelers backups right now?
No.
I don't. And unfortunately, I don't think. I think Dobbs had the ability to be a good pro, but he's bounced and not ever got settled. I just don't see it now.
And we are out of time, and I do have to work tomorrow, but I do want to finish just with a thought. I was listening to oh crap, I don't want to get that because it's a Steeler guy. It doesn't matter. It might have been Labriola. It was one of the main Steeler guys. But he was sitting there talking about, and I know you've heard me talk about Ben's injury, right?
Yeah.
You know what a flexor tendon is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when Ben got injured, all 5 of his, so flexor tendons basically go up to each one of your fingers, right?
Right.
They attach at the elbow and they go up to each one of your fingers. All 5 of them snapped off. That surgery's never been done to an NFL quarterback. Never. He came back and did what he did last year with a ragtag offensive line, no running game, no number 1 receiver. And people are talking about how he's fallen off. Can you think of one quarterback in the NFL that's going to feed off of that more than Ben Roethlisberger?
Nah, he's good. He'll be fine.
Is he a top 5 quarterback next year?
Backside's where I have him. I have him 6th, 7th in that area.
That's fair.
So
I'm going to say this, and this is my parting shot. Ben Roethlisberger has 3 to 4 more good years in the NFL. Good NFL teams build backwards. So when you look at an NFL franchise, you look at a team like San Francisco, you look at a team like, the Jets, any of these teams, they go out, they get their quarterback first. The Steelers are doing the opposite of that. You realize the Steelers are the 4th youngest team in the NFL?
yeah, and let a lot of money lock to free up salary.
Yeah. The Steelers have built that nucleus. They've got that veteran quarterback. The Steelers are a dangerous team this year. A dangerous team this year.
It's going to be fun.
And again, we're talking about those 2 slot guys, Chase Claypool and Freiermuth. Freiermuth makes that offense. It keeps everybody honest. Obviously, Najee Harris does as well. I think Ben Roethlisberger has a humongous year this year.
I tend to agree, and I also, and I know this is my final thought. And we'll call it a night because we're
buddy.
off here. The Steelers, 7.5. Go put $100 on it. That's the win total.
Yeah,
that team was 11-0 last year.
That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. All right, buddy. Well, it always flies by.
Yeah, it does.
I like this half and half format where we're talking about baseball and football. Let's do it again next weekend.
It's good.
Chaps Fantasy Chat, The Other Angle, Draft for Upside, iLogic Media. What do you got to plug?
Marion Messenger, River City Media, and 3R Sports on Tuesday night.
All right, man. As always, enjoyed it, brother. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the support. We'll do it again next Thursday. Randall will do it again before that.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good weekend.